This week we return to Arkansas, and will Gannon Buhr ever finish outside the top 2? Let's talk about it. Welcome in everyone to Understable Discourse, and this is a kind of smash up of Chain Reaction and the typical episode. Guys, it has been a long week. My wife and I have been getting ready. We're trying to sell our house, so it's been a lot of packing, a lot of paperwork, meeting with our realtor, and it's been a bit of a wild week, on top of also trying to be parents and work and all that other stuff. So here we are. I apologize for not giving you a more traditional chain reaction. I had an interview that was lined up that I was super excited about, but it kind of fell through. The players are super busy right now because unlike every other event this year, they don't have that extra weekend here for travel and preparation. We are now in an absolute slugfest of event after event after event after event. So getting them on the show, it's going to be a little bit harder, but I'm going to keep trying to do it for you because I want to bring you the best we've got. But nothing this week here. So today I want to take a real quick look and cover, at this point, you've already seen probably most of the shows talk about the Champions Cup ad nauseum. So I don't want to spend too much time kind of reviewing that. Just a couple of the highlights for me, and then let's take a look ahead of the event this upcoming weekend with the Jonesboro Open. But as we take a look, actually, before we do that, if you like being up to date on what's going on in the disc golf news sphere, if you like a different or fresh perspective than those that are out there already, and you don't feel like always wanting to listen to a 3-hour podcast or 2-hour podcast, hit the subscribe button. Support our channel over here, Understable Discourse, every single day between like 6 and 7 o'clock. We put out the hot round over on all of our short form stuff between Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. And that's 3 minutes or less of everything going on in the sport that you need to be aware of. That way, if you don't have the time or you don't want to wait, you can find it out over there, typically faster than you find it out pretty much anywhere else. So I would check out the hot round every single day, subscribe, help support the growth of our channel. I greatly appreciate it. Now that I've said that, let's get into the conversation here. I think a few of the takeaways from the Champions Cup that we have to really consider, especially when we look at the FPO side. Silva Saarinen, incredible final round, right? Taking the victory, which we all kind of thought was in Henna's grasp, but Henna is one of those players in the FPO division that you're just not sure if or when the collapse is coming because of the putting woes that we've seen Henna have. It's just like no lead ever feels truly safe if there's someone within kind of, shooting distance of her. And Silva wasn't that far off. And so Silva shot this incredible round, and Henna honestly, Henna's round wasn't that bad. Henna's round wasn't that bad because Silva shot, 8 down? Henna shot 3 down. Not bad at all for Henna, because when you think about it, if she would have averaged 3 down every round, that 12 under still puts her in second place by 3 strokes. So 3 down's not a bad round, but Silva puts down an incredible one. And honestly, Silva could have beaten her by more because Silva missed like 2 10-foot putts. One of them was slightly obstructed, but one was wide open, and she just didn't give it enough attention or focus. I'm not quite sure. But the story of the day is honestly, Silva's the kind of player who I think, when we think about FPO dominance, we think about Kristen, right? Because you go back far enough, you think about players like Paige, who just dominated the competitors around her because at the time she was able to just outdrive everyone and put herself in positions that no other players could get to. But now you kind of get to the era of dominance with Kristen, where it was, hey, I can throw pretty far, not the top end distance in the FPO field, but I can throw pretty far. I putt pretty well, and all the other parts of my game are pretty solid. Not one thing is the best than anyone else, but everything is good. Everything is great. And so I think Silva is the closest player we have to that right now. I think we see shades of that from Missy Gannon at times, but Missy can sometimes be a bit streaky, having some struggles this weekend in those last 2 rounds, especially the final round. But Silva is right there on that cusp of being able to do the same thing. If she can just focus up and not miss those couple short ones and just put her foot on the neck of her competitors, I think Silva can enter into her own era of dominance. But there are players in the FPO field that I would say have a lot to say about that, because I mean, Henna and Evelina aren't slackers by any means. Evelina's a world champion, multi-major winner. Henna has never won a major before, or really won any event on the Pro Tour. She's had a number of A-tier wins, but she's always been knocking at the door numerous times. So if they ever have a weekend where for the full weekend they're putts on, Evelina and Henna are monsters to deal with. And we can't, we got Holland Hanley, you have Owen Scoggins. So there's lots of great players in FPO, but I think that Silva represents that next era of player who can put all the pieces together and come out and, really, really dominate the FPO scene. So I'm curious to see, does she take this momentum into the upcoming weeks? Because we're going to now move into a course that's very unlike what we saw with New London. It's going to be a lot more open, power, wind control. And so we see the hand shift back in favor of the players like Holland Handley and Ella Hansen, and the players who can throw a lot further. But in the past, that hasn't stopped Kristen from winning, because even though she couldn't throw as far as some of those players, she did everything else better. So do we see Silva step into that role, or are we still kind of learning and growing? Because she still is very young. She's still kind of learning her game, getting better every single year. So it's going to be a wild one. A couple other things to note from the Champions Cup. We saw on the MPO side the awakening of the Giant as Anthony Barela has his first really solid event of the year. And the funny part was, leading up to the event, I don't think any of us were sure he was going to do that, because he didn't have access to his bag, because he dropped his car or key fob or car key down like a sewer drain, storm drain. So he didn't have access to his main bag till pretty close to the event. And so it's like all these little weird nuanced things happening to him, but he then shows up and just dominates on the course. And I think the statistic was, if you take away hole 1 from this event, Anthony Barela would have won. So he was right there in the mix down the stretch, and you also had Gannon there and Niklas Antila taking the win. But Anthony Barela showing up in a big way, and I think a great momentum booster going into a weekend for an event that he has probably, I would say, the one of the highest ceilings possible to win, because of the open nature of this side of heaven out in Jonesboro. So good timing for AB. This could be a weekend for him to absolutely pop off. A couple other major stories. Paul McBeth had to drop out in the middle of the Champions Cup, still dealing with whatever it is he's dealing with. Who knows how long he's going to be out. Really unfortunate to see. We all want to see the game with Paul McBeth in it, but this stuff happens, and it's I think compounds when you're. This feels really weird to say, because Paul and I are like quite literally the same age. Our birthdays are days apart, but like when you get to the higher ages, but then you also have to juggle the fact that you've got a family, you've got a foundation, you got lots of things going on. So when you are sick and you are hurting and whatever, it is so much more oppressive on what you have going on. It's so much harder to get back into things because you're juggling a whole lot more than, let's say, a young person who is just touring and that's all they're doing, living out of their van or whatever. So we hope for a recovery for Paul, get back to his full strength and everything like that, because the tour is better when Paul is playing at full capacity. So there's that for sure. A couple other things. We saw some really odd performances. Kyle Klein having a tough one. I would expect Kyle to perform way better on this course. Ezra Robinson, despite having what I would say one of the most promising set of videos leading up to the event, showcasing those episodes with his brother and the doubles against the doubles on Jomez and against Ezra and Goose. Ezra was looking phenomenal on the course, and I don't know, he just every single week this year when the tournament starts, he just can't seem to put it together, which is super surprising. So hopefully he shakes that off soon, him and the other Ezra, because Ezra Aderholt is also not having the world's greatest start to his season. So I think Champions Cup was very successful in the sense that we had some drama down the stretch for both MPO and FPO. We saw a first-time MPO finish major champion. We had a double finish major champion sweep between Silva and Niklas. And it has me very excited. There's some big things that went down at Champs Cup that I think are awesome. We heard about how incredible the family zone was for the kids and how that was such an incredible add-on for people and spectators at this event. I'm hoping to see more and more of that at upcoming majors, and I hope to see it in person. I don't want to speak too soon, but I'm really trying hard for a media pass for Worlds, and things are starting to click together. I've got some pretty important people in my corner, and when I know for sure 100%, I'll tell you more about it. But we're trying to get there, folks. We're trying to get there, and every time you guys you comment, you subscribe, you add credence to why I should be able to go do those things. So thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. But now, as we kind of take away from Champions Cup and we lean into Jonesboro, we see a return to the tour after taking a year off. Last year they had it as an A tier, which was a pretty solid event. Benjamin Callaway won it. Aaron Gossage finished in second, but it was not really the typical Jonesboro event, because we saw it have kind of a different format. They played 27 holes. It was different. So we returned to Jonesboro at the This Side of Heaven. One of my I think favorite courses to watch. I think people kind of are split on this one. Some people they're not sure about this course. I think it's great. I think having the year off is going to help people feel good about it. Plus, we're going to be out in the Open for the first time in quite a while this season. I think for maybe the first time at all this season, the players are going to be able to open it up in the open space. So some people are going to be really excited to see the big bombs. But Jonesboro not being a super duper crazy long course, kind of sitting in that middle, maybe upper middle level, just shy of 10,000 feet for the MPO and about 8,600 feet for the FPO. It requires a serious degree of distance control and honestly wind control. We're seeing in the practice rounds that the winds are already pretty crazy this week, and it looks like those are going to continue possibly throughout the event. So you're going to have good decision making with the wind, knowing when to go and when not to go for shots, and just that raw power. It helps a lot to be able to push something, to be able to throw a more stable disc, because you have more speed and you've got more power to do so into the winds. So I think that's going to be super important, and we're going to see, I think, a lot of players shake off that, okay, we're out of the woods, I don't have to hit the tight lines anymore, and find some success out there. So to me, this weekend's going to be all about being able to control your distance. You can't just spray and pray out there. You got to control your distance. You got to be able to read and understand the wind, and you got to be able to hit those nervy putts in the wind. You got to be able to handle that, because there's some elevated baskets at Jonesboro. There's some key holes coming down the stretch. One thing about Jonesboro that I am really sad about is that they did not return former hole 18 to hole 18. It is still sitting at hole 12. I think it's one of the best hole 18s in disc golf, and they just don't put it there. So this is another event this year that we're seeing a change up of the typical course layout. We saw it now at a number of courses, and I would say very successful at Queen City Classic, and not as wonderful at Champions Cup, but I get it. I mean, I just don't like ending on a par. I don't like ending on a par 3. It's not my vibe. So, but hey, that's what we got going for Jonesboro. Let's talk about the players who are there, because we are missing a number of players at the event. Not everyone is going to be there. Looking at the FPO side, I have to say, for me, I'm gonna have to put some of my power throwers up there. I'm envisioning a third place finish from Evelina Salonen here. I think she has everything you need in terms of power, to be able to reach spots that a lot of other players are not going to be able to reach. But the putting is still a concern to me, so that's all I can do is put her in third place. Next up, I've got Silva Saarinen here. I've got Silva coming off of a great win. Not the furthest thrower in FPO, probably the furthest standstill thrower in FPO, but I think just her level of consistency is fantastic. And honestly, I know that she didn't do as great this past weekend, but I think Holland Handley, you let her open it up and fire away. I think Holland's taking the win this weekend. For me, it's a great stretch there. You could put Henna up there as a great thrower. But I like Silva, I like Holland, and I like Evelina for my podium finishers. Obviously not in that order. Some other players to watch though. Ida Letamaki came out and had a wonderful performance at the Champions Cup. I'm super excited to see what she does here. She had a lot of success, obviously at the World Championships last year. So we saw what she was able to do out at Nokia and the Open at the Beast. So she could pop off and have a fantastic event. I'm really excited to see what she's able to do. Over on the MPO side, this one here is not very tough for me. I'm putting, I think I'm going with, we're going to shake this up a little bit. I'll be the one to do it. Folks. I think we have Gannon Burr taking his first non-top 2 finish. Gannon Burr comes in second place. I'm going to get burned on that because he's going to win the event. But I think Gannon's going to come in third place because I think Calvin Heimberg, who's historically had multiple wins at Jonesboro, is extremely comfortable with this course. I think he's due for his moment. I think he's going to get second place. And I think Anthony Barela is going to take a big step, a big leap off of this past weekend. And Anthony Barela is going to take down the win and showcase that whatever happened at the start of the season was a fluke. He's here now, and he's ready to compete. So I've got AB, I've got Calvin, I've got Gannon. To me, you could interchange all 3 of those in any order you want, and to me, that's an acceptable podium for this particular weekend. But I think you got to look out for players like Aaron Gossage, who had a lot of success on this course. I think you can't count out Niklas Antila. That momentum coming off of his first major win, that's a humongous thing. You got players like, Sullivan Tipton, who have the distance and power. Kyle Klein coming off a not so great weekend, but maybe we can see what he can do. And sneaky, I don't know, is Simon Lizotte in the field this weekend? I don't see Simon in the field, so never mind. But one player that you should look out for is Levi Stout, has officially joined the fray over on the MPO side, traveling the 30-plus hours from New Zealand to get here. Levi is now going to be touring on the Pro Tour here in the United States for a good little while. I'm super excited to see how he does. And I would not be surprised, given his power and consistency, to see a top 20 finish for his first event not a first event ever on U.S. soil, his first event on U.S. soil this season. So let me know what you think. Are my picks wild and crazy? Am I not grounded in reality at all with what I'm saying? Let me know who you're picking down in the comments below. Give me your podium for FPO and MPO, and let's see who you got. But that's been it for me for today for Understable Discourse. I thank you so much for your time. If you like what you heard, make sure while you're down there commenting that you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. You can support the growth of my channel. We're almost at 1,000, guys. We're so close. We just got to get over that little hump. We got 100 subscribers left to get to 1,000. Maybe you could be that person. So let's do it. Let's do it together. I'm so excited for the continuation of this season, and I will see you all tomorrow. Actually, I'll see you later for the hot round. So until then, later, peeps.